What's up, everybody? Celtics late night. Spoody here with Jake. I'm
Period.
making a rare late night appearance because the 3 o'clock game late night is not all that late on the East Coast. But I mean, Jake, really, never in doubt. 107,
Yep.
105. How you feeling?
I'm feeling a little frazzled,
Yeah.
up at 5 a.m. to watch the beautiful football NFL organization that is the New England Patriots
Whew.
for some reason into the Boston Celtics, which they're certainly keeping us on our toes at the moment. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Between like the Wizards game they were down for a lot of the Wizards game and into tonight. I had a feeling that they would be at least showing effort tonight, and I thought they played hard tonight. The Wolves have not been awesome, but you just know with this type of matchup that the Timberwolves coming in are going to be ready to go, and they've had some weird chemistry stuff, but you just knew like this matchup has been really good the last couple of years. The Anthony Edwards, Tatum, Anthony Edwards, Jaylen stuff. You knew that was going to be have some juice in the game, and these afternoon games are always weird. But yeah, we got two different moments where I relaxed, and I think I'm just learning to not relax this
Never.
year.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
going into last year, I was like, I'm not relaxing. I know this team. And then last year happened, and I'm like, why was I stressed at all at any point during last year? Next year, I'm going to be chill. And now it's like,
Nope.
I'm back to calling the bookie when the Celtics are up by like 13 points in the third quarter because I know what's coming.
Oh, come on. That never totally stopped last year, Jake.
That's true. That's true.
uh, I almost felt like this game was a sort of a microcosm of the season, in that it was wildly inconsistent offensively and defensively. Like I think there were times where we played some of our best offense we have all year, and times where we played some of our best defense we have all year, and then times where we kind of looked lost on both. As Minnie was making that third quarter run, Dillingham was out there, and
What are
like
we
we
doing?
were not going at him for like six straight possessions. Then we finally like Pritchard got the and one on him, and
Hmm.
then it was like six straight possessions of not going at him, and then we finally started going at him again and started having success. And um but then there were possessions that were just like amazing. They look so good. Tatum gets downhill. There's like four other passes off of that, wide open three, or ends up in like a kick down low for a layup. And then defensively, I don't know if I've ever seen us blow this many switches in a game where I think we were actually good defensive. Like we played a good defensive game. You hold the Timberwolves to 105, and they shot
Hmm.
about 37% from three. So it's not like they were ice cold from three, although it was mostly just Ant.
Yeah,
But man, it
crazy.
felt like there was times where like we just didn't know what we were doing, and that's a rarity with this team. Do you think part of that just like Ant puts so much pressure on you with his athleticism that you're like, is he getting over the top? Like, is Derrick getting over the
Yeah.
top of that screen? I think so. Maybe I should switch. Maybe I shouldn't. And then that indecision just leads to like a blown switch. But there was a bunch of those during their run in that third quarter and I guess beginning
Yeah.
of the fourth.
Yeah, it was weird. I thought they played really hard on defense, and I thought
Yeah.
that they recovered on a bunch of possessions where like initially the Timberwolves broke it down, and it was often one of those missed switches. But then like there was a lot of effort flying around like pursuing the play, so it was good to see them play hard. Yeah, the attention to detail because this Minnesota team, yeah, you're absolutely right. They definitely oscillated like between playing really well and really bad in this game, and like on both defense and offense. Because yeah, there were some possessions defensively where you're like, man, this team is like has completely shut the water off. And with
Yeah.
this Minnesota team in particular, it's like they don't have the decision makers, they don't have the shooting, they don't have the spacing, and it's like keep out in front of you, stunt, show help, recover out to shooters, and like that's the reason why the Timberwolves, even prior to this season, have not been good is because they just don't have the ability to crack open the defense because their spacing isn't good. They don't have the quick decision makers. You can force turnovers. They're 25th in the NBA in total turnovers per game coming in today. And the Celtics did not force many
Nope.
turnovers. They're not a team that forces a ton of turnovers. But yeah, it was like a weird oscillation between like, man, they've really put the clamps on right now to they're just kind of letting like Ant having 7 assists. Like he's averaging 3.7 assists on the season, and he only had he had 1 turnover in the second half. Like I thought that he definitely got loose. He had 3 turnovers on the game, but yeah, he obviously got loose. Yeah, and I think they're a little bit inconsistent right now, and I know Eric Wise talked about this. They're kind of mathing their way to 14-3, which
Right.
it's important to take a step back here because like the net rating is still good. The point differential, I think I saw on Twitter, the point differential might actually be better now than it was 17 games through last season. But we have eyes. I have to go back and actually look at all the games because now I just think about last season and I think about just how they destroyed everybody. Maybe like they really, because like Jaylen struggled early last season. Drew was a bit weird early last season. They really didn't find their full groove probably a bit later in the year. But the way that I remember it now is just like belt to ass, game 1 to game 100 and whatever. Whereas it probably wasn't exactly like that.
No, and I feel like last year, as far as the net rating is concerned, we had like a few massive blowouts where we lost by like 50, and that's going to artificially like deflate your net rating. So like
last year,
yeah, like Milwaukee smoked us by 50. Like I feel like that happened. Didn't Oklahoma City get us one time? I can't remember, but I feel like we had 3 or 4 where we just got absolutely blown the shit out. And when you get absolutely blown the shit out, it's going to fuck with your net rating. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just remembering the Milwaukee game.
The Milwaukee game was a thing.
There was
a Clippers game that we got blown out in as well. But other than that, I don't think. I thought it was like the other way around. We had like 4 50-point wins.
Well, we had a bunch of 50-point wins, but I guess that's I don't know.
Whatever.
It's I guess I'm trying to like conceptualize why it feels different. Like why our eyes are telling us one thing, but the numbers are still like, this is probably the best team in the league or second best team in the league. And I can't really figure it out other than they're just really, really fucking good. And even when they don't play their best, they're still probably the best team in the league. And this is without Porzingis too. Like last year we had KP for like the start of the season. So and they've lost 3 games by a total of 10 points this year. Like that's pretty insane, all things told. So on Ant,
yes,
I actually feel like we did a really good job of mostly keeping him out of the paint. He made 3 twos.
Yeah.
And he only took 4 free throws. I felt like we did an excellent job of forcing him into the mid-range where, like, you know, absent him going crazy in the playoffs, he's not like a DeMar DeRozan who's going to absolutely kill you in the mid-range. So what's up, everybody in the chat? We got a good group. It's awesome.
Who cares about the regular season?
We do.
TD.
Yeah.
I can't help it, dude.
Yeah, I know. You're right, but I'm psychotic. So, and like, you know, he's going to go 6 for 11 for 3. A lot of those were probably more open than they should be off of like behind pick and rolls. But for the most part, man, like he had the 7 assists. Part of that's DiVincenzo making shots. McDaniels, I think he hit 2 immediately to start the game. I think both off Anthony Edwards passes.
We got lost off ball early a couple times.
Yeah, we definitely did. But overall, like I mean, Ant's obviously great and he gets a ton of attention. He's going to have a positive impact, but this was not like a otherworldly Ant game by any means.
No, you take this. I think at halftime he was like 2 for 3 from 3. So he obviously got loose from the 3-point line. It is interesting, like his just him as a player now. He's taking 11 threes a game, like similar to Tatum. What's his 2-point percentage this year? 52% from 2. It's not terrible. But yeah, like that was really the only way that he got loose today was these 3-point shots and some of them are tough. And I think what we were saying before about the oscillating between good and bad defense was true on Ant as well. I thought there was like a bunch of the game where they did a really good job keeping him in front. And then I think this was a lot early in the game. Like he got those layups early and close together, and he kicked out to Jaden McDaniels. That was probably all in the first quarter where the Wolves ended the quarter up 2 or up 3. And so that's probably my brain just kind of being like, man, it felt like he kind of was on a roll there. And then like the threes towards the end of the game as well. But yeah, like you live with that game, I think, like 28 points. I mean, the 3-point efficiency is always going to,
Yeah.
28, 9, and 7 though, 3 turnovers. Like I think it's the fact that you were able to limit the rest of the Timberwolves to 42%, and that would be the strategy if you're going to like play these guys in the finals. For example, I don't see Minnesota being a team that has a chance of making it there, but it's like you just shut down everybody else. You make Ant shoot over the top, and you make it tough on everybody else because they don't really have the offensive skill outside of him.
Yeah, for sure. And we got like a not great a bad Nas Reed game too. He missed a couple shots he could have made. I will say the last shot, he did not get that off.
That's what I didn't think he did either.
He did not get that off. And I saw a comment that said it's not in the NBA's play-by-play. How they have all the things that happened at the end of the game. So he didn't get it off. But not even looking at pictures like that. He did not get credited for a field goal for that shot. So
I didn't think so.
Nothing to worry about there. Wasn't even close. But it just feels like us and the T-Wolves are destined to play like these gritty ass, intense, close games every single time. And the T-Wolves, they're moving up the list. I'm going to be honest. Anthony Edwards, I find super annoying with how much shit he talks, even though he's been a proud member of Larry Bird's mullet since he was a rookie. He's been my keeper ever since he was a rookie. I fucking hate watching Julius Randle play basketball.
Oh, he's brutal.
Dude, how was he getting all these calls where he's just
so
plowing into people, flipping it at the rim, and getting 13 free throws out of this bullshit, man? I thought we let him get left way too much early, and then we immediately adjusted, forced him right, and we would have taken him basically out of the game, but for him getting bailed out at least 4 drives, maybe 5 or 6 drives. Like, it was absolutely ridiculous. And it's like he's creating all the contact. And I absolutely hate players who play like that. And he's just a bum, 1 of 4 from 3, defensively on skates. Oh, God. He's going to hurt somebody with the way he plays, man. It's obnoxious. Yeah.
He doesn't suck. He's such a weird player. He's such a weird player because he does have an impact on the game, obviously. Like, he still put up 23, 6 and 2, 7 for 15 from the field. Thankfully, he missed 5 of his free throws.
I know, dude.
And one of them in the fourth quarter. So he had 4 points in the fourth quarter, 1 from 1 field goal, 2 for 4 from the free throw line. He is a tough watch, man. He's a tough watch. Like, the ball stopping, the back you down. And it was like, it turned into a bit of ref ball in the fourth quarter, it felt like. I think it was bad on both ends, but yeah, he was getting bailed out over and over again. Meanwhile, the Jays were getting clobbered. Jaylen had a really nice finish in the fourth quarter, and they showed the replay, and I think it was Randle actually. Randle hit him over his entire right side of his body, and there was just no call. So it was not being called the same on both ends, and Jaylen and Jason were actually creating advantages and getting hit at the rim, whereas he was just bulldozing through the defense. It was really rough. I'm glad you called that out. He's not a fun watch.
Yeah, well, and there was one possession, I think it was when there was 40 seconds left. Tatum ended up having to take a corner fall away 2-pointer that he missed. But the reason he had to take that is because he drove
fouled
to the rim, got hit 4 different times on his way by, lost the ball, and had to pick it up with 3 seconds left on the shot clock. And it's how is Julius Randle getting these calls? And Tatum, you can hear his skin being slapped on the TV, and there's just absolutely nothing. And I think it's the T-Wolves are entering the heat they're great defenders, so they're allowed to just get away with being more physical than other teams. The Wizards ain't getting away with shit like that,
Yeah, no, absolutely not. This, I'm glad it didn't end didn't cost us. It's not going to be one of the Warriors games. So probably talk about. I'll give you 2 choices.
Okay.
I think that have arguments for player of the game. Jaylen Brown and Derrick White are probably the 2 choices. So I'll let you decide here.
I've actually been thinking about Jaylen's game since I finished watching it because it felt like he was kind of all over the place, but then he was also massive and huge. He ripped it in the first quarter, obviously, but then he was huge down the stretch. He basically iced this game. Him and Derek iced the game for us. And defensively, I feel like a lot of those blown switches were Jalen's fault, but then also he was incredible on Ant when he was one-on-one with him. Like, he did such a good job, and he did a really good job on Randall when he was switched on to Randall
Yes.
too. And like this was like a classic Derrick White's very good game
Oh my
where he was
God.
just everywhere. I think he had 2 blocks too. Um, 9 boards, which is
9
crazy
boards,
for
dude.
Derrick White. Led the team in assists and like a massive big nuts clutch 3 that we really,
course.
really needed. It might have been one of the last points we scored with like 2.5 minutes left.
I think the last one was Jalen's
Oh,
ridiculous
that's right.
3.
Yeah, that big nuts 3, right?
It's hard to get them confused.
So I think I would lean Jaylen just because the highs were so fucking high with him, but Derek kept my blood pressure a lot more steady than JB did.
Yeah, Derek was like the metronome of the game, just
Yeah.
like ticking along evenly. I'm not sure what the musical equivalent would be for Jaylen Brown. He was the guitar soloist, I
Who's
guess.
high as hell.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like, what's his name? Slash, the dude that has like the big hat and the
Yeah.
glasses. He's just like, he pops in and it's like, oh my God, he's going to town. And then he just fades back in. And the thing, he faded back in. There was obviously, some grossness, but as you alluded to, like that's just kind of the deal when it comes to this matchup. But when we really needed him, he stepped up. Man, that fucking 3 that he hit late, he hit it, but like, god damn, I'm not sure that was the most advisable shot there. But they weren't getting calls, and he stepped into it confidently and he knocked it down. And man, we were due for a Jaylen Brown 3-point barrage. Hopefully,
Yeah.
this is the beginning of things to come because he's really struggled from the 3-point line. But I mean, this was a fucking, like, you take a step back and look at it. He was 29 points and he only had 1 turnover as well tonight. Like, that's a number that we're actually maybe 0 turnovers in the fourth quarter as well between him and Tatum. So like, when those guys are just taking care of the ball, it's going to be hard to beat them. And Jaylen with only the 1 turnover. That's back-to-back games now where he's been the best player, probably. I know Tatum had some nice stretches in this game as well, but I think Jaylen, like, you just needed the production.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. You definitely needed the production late because we did. I don't know what we scored in that fourth quarter, but it was not a lot. It must have been like 20 points.
It was 23.
23, yeah. So we needed every one of those Jaylen Brown fourth quarter points. Yeah, Tatum had kind of a weird game. I feel like the 3 was he was 5 of 9 from 3 at one point, and then he finished 5 of 12. 2 of those rattled out though, like they were halfway down. And like finishing's just really fucking hard when you're going against Rudy Gobert. Like you saw it with Drew. Drew is usually unstoppable with his left hand once he gets into the paint. And like he tried to finish a couple on one, he just threw straight up in the air and it came right back down. And Tatum is usually really good at finishing over length, especially this version of Tatum. But Gobert is just kind of a different beast, man. Like say what you want about Gobert, and we've made fun of him a lot.
We will.
Yeah, and we will. But he is one of the best rim protectors of all time. And like, if he weren't, he wouldn't be an NBA player. So like,
really
that's
wouldn't.
what he does. Yeah. So I mean, we really just struggled at the rim, and I think Tatum did too. And then once the 3 stopped going down, he settled for a couple middies I didn't really love. That
Why
were
is he
pretty
so
contested.
bad at mid-range jump shots, dude? It doesn't make
it doesn't
any
make
sense. Like, obviously he's an elite 3-point shooter. Like, we got the catch and shoot numbers. 42%
Yeah.
for like a 7-year career. To pull up when he's open, he can make him. Like free throw shooter, he's at 84% for his entire career. He had another like wide open, like he had a couple of like fadeaway contests that he missed, and that's okay. But he had like that wide open, like it was probably 12 feet, 13 feet from kind of like the right block in extended area range. Just not even close, dude. Maybe it was close. I don't remember. But he can't make any of them, especially in the clutch, it feels like. I don't understand it at all because they should be at least equal to his 3-point percentage. You're so much closer. I guess just take this, just move 14 feet back. I don't
Just shoot a
understand.
pull-up 3.
Oh my God. Because they look, they look good. They look fine. Some of them.
Yeah.
He makes them on occasion, but God damn.
Dude, I have a fix. Doesn't it feel like every time he fakes the fadeaway pull up. He gets fouled. Like he got McDaniels on it. He should just do that every time and turn into Jimmy Butler from the mid range. Like never shoot, just only pump fake it because it always fucking works. Yeah.
He actually did that exact same move to Cat in Boston last year when the Timberwolves came to town. Like kind of actually from like the exact same spot, which is interesting. Yeah, dude. I was just watching the Heat and the Mavericks before, and Jimmy Butler gets 2 feet into the paint, just goes pump fake, pump fake, pump fake, pump fake. And eventually he just shoots it if they don't go for it. And it's like, you probably got just as much of a chance making the shot after your 4th pump fake as you do making it when you just go straight up for it. But yeah, he does not know how to make mid-range jump shots. I know Eric Weiss and us have talked about like when he's on balance, he gets his feet set. Maybe, but man, some of them look as if he should make them, and they look clean. They look smooth. When they go in, they look great. But man, the percentage for his career from the mid range is like 35 to 37%. Uncanny. Yep. Like there's maybe 1 year where he's I think above 40%, but other than that, it's always like mid to high 30s.
Yeah, and like Bino's in the chat here. JT needs to start shooting middies like JB, face up, looking at the rim. No unnecessary fadeaway difficulty. But I feel like when he gets those looks, he doesn't make them either. And like part of that is JB is so strong and so athletic that he can work himself into those looks a lot easier. Like when Jaylen goes downhill, he just gets a shoulder into somebody. They fly backwards and then he can balance and pull up square. Tatum is strong, but he's not like JB, superhero strong. So it's hard to get that look whenever you want it, and the fadeaway he can get to whenever he wants it. That's why he goes to it so much. But Jaylen, like that's an underrated part of Jaylen Brown's game. It's like basically if he gets ahead of steam, he's probably scoring, whether it's getting all the way to the rim or that mid-range pull-up, which he hit a couple massive mid-range pull-ups this game too. It had a couple nasty drives late in the game.
Good stuff in the chat here. We're asking JT to make chicken soup out of chicken bleep. He's not,
you can
he's
swear.
not that guy. He's drive JT or 3. It is interesting because they're kind of like obviously Tatum is the one that has the better IQ and the better feel, but of the 2 guys that can make like tougher shots around the rim and trickier contested fadeaways, I don't even know like the number. I know that Tatum has like the better rim finishing numbers historically, but it's definitely Jaylen. Like when it comes to hitting circus type shots, like contested fadeaways, it's easily Jaylen. It's just Tatum is when he's on rhythm or in rhythm and on balance, that's when he's at his best. And he's like got the ball on a string and he's getting downhill. And the last 2 games have not been games where he's been really, really comfortable. He's good. I feel like in the past he's been okay at going at Rudy, but tonight he did not feel comfortable or he wasn't aggressive enough. He had one play in the first half where he got downhill and he missed a look at the rim on the left side of the basket, and I don't feel like he went to it again. And I just would have liked to see him go to it again. He did have that beautiful coming off when he comes off these screens. He came off that screen on the left wing and hit that rainbow 3 over Gobert from. I will say JT's range has started to move back a little bit on both the catch and shoots and the pull-ups, which is something. I do think that's real, which is even more hilarious when we talk about the mid-range. He's definitely starting to get better, moving further away from the basket.
Yeah, you just start taking mid-range or half-court shots, JT. It will be money. I feel like we need to talk about Tilly, right?
The big teabag, baby, he's back.
Yeah. Copyright Ben Vallis, the big teabag. I appreciated you guys had a nice discussion of Tilly on the pod you and Ben did, so I won't belabor the point too much. But everything you guys said about him, like he just knows how to play the game. He's in the right places, which is in sharp contrast to Keita, who I like and think has some serious talents, but sometimes you just need a dude who knows what he's doing, and Tilly is that. I thought Tilly was really solid today. I think Gobert's 7 offensive rebounds in the first half maybe were partially his fault, but those are kind of the fault of the entire team. You got a gang rebound when Gobert's out there. He's like 7'9". But overall, like pretty solid no damages, no bad things, minutes, and he had that one nice pass to Derrick White, the interior pass.
Really
White got
nice.
fouled. Yeah, which is just not something any of the other centers other than Al Horford can do.
He had a nice. What did he do? I know he scored one bucket and he went 1 for 2 from the free throw line. So as I also wrote for Celtics blog about Tillman's defense after the Wizards game. So if you want to check out Xavier Tillman bringing comfort and stability to the Celtics defense, you can check that out on Celtics blog. That's exactly right, man. It's not eye popping. I mean, the Wizards game he definitely impacted the game at a higher level, and I'm not completely out on Cater. I really am glad. It's funny we've completely swung the other direction.
Yeah.
Like we were getting Cater shoved down our throats, and now he doesn't get a single minute in this game, which is when you don't even have Luke available. But I was like, can we just ratchet it down? Can we just simmer down a little bit with the Cater stuff? I'm happy to still get him going, but it is really, really nice. We just need, I like to have someone to be in the right spot, execute the game plan, execute the scheme on both defense and offense. He's a limited player offensively, obviously, but he's going to be in the dunker spot. He can make the correct read, and that's fine on offense. Defensively, he's just solid. He makes the opposing team actually score. Like, you actually have to work to get a basket. Whereas Cater, it feels like they're really able to manipulate him and just like get wide open stuff. Stuff that's like, well, that's a 100% bucket. As opposed to Tilman at least forces them to move the ball, gets a hand up. Not going to be perfect, but like he's going to make you earn your baskets at the minimum.
Yeah, yeah. And I think against a guy like Ant with the way he's shooting the ball this year, you cannot play drop. You just can't. And that means like we saw what the Neemias Queta switching onto elite ball handlers defense looks like against the Cavaliers. It's not pretty. Whereas Tilman, like, is he going to shut Ant out on 10 straight, isolation possessions? Absolutely fucking not. But he's going to make it difficult enough that it'll allow help to get there and not completely undermine your entire defensive scheme, which is like Queta has a role. He has matchups that are good for him. Teams with dynamic ball and like Ant and Mitchell are like two of the most dynamic ball handlers in the league. And like this is just a really bad matchup for him, and like it almost cost us in the Cavs game that Joe stuck with him for so long. So it's interesting that now he's like, all right, screw it, we're just not going to play that game anymore. Cato will come back, he'll get back. Like, I like that Joe does this, where instead of like doling out 5 minutes for these dudes, for 6 minutes for both of them, it's like, you're the one playing tonight, you're gonna get real run, you're gonna be able to get comfortable. I think it helps dudes. Like, I'd rather know like you're just not playing tonight, but in a week you're gonna get 3 straight games of 15 minutes. Like, I think it's better for development when you get those types of chances instead of like what Walshy's getting. It's like 7 minutes every third game. It's like he's not really going to develop like that.
Yeah, 3 minutes in the first half, 3 minutes in the second half. It's like I think it's good for Walsh maybe just to understand the speed of the game, like to get a feel for that. But yeah, for someone like Tilman that has a ton of time in the NBA, it's like just give him an actual stint to see what he can do. Yeah, on offense he had like it's nothing fancy, but like Tilman, I mean Pritchard has Dillingham, he beats him. Randall has to come over, and then Tilman goes to the dunker spot, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker comes to help, but Tilman just kind of like uses his body and pushes him out of the way, which creates like a very easy pass for Pritchard that gets deflected, but Tilman's still able to recover it and finish it. It's just a veteran dude. Like they're the same age, Cater and Tilman, very different players. I know RJ in the playback today was like, Cater has played as many minutes as Tatum played in Tatum's like the first half of Tatum's rookie season.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to figure it out. It just means that he hasn't had the chance to necessarily. But I understand the concept. Yeah, I don't think Tilman had a great game, but it's just like get in there, give us a bit of a rest with Horford, and you can still maintain whatever you really want. And like the communication aspect, I just feel like when they're in scramble mode, he just knows he can read what's happening and he can push someone out of a scram switch quickly or whatever it may be. You just feel a bit more comfortable out there. He's not changing the game. I do think there's going to be moments where he does, similar to Game 3 of the finals, where it's just that perfect matchup and he's able to really, impact it.
Yeah, and I think Kata's ceiling and ability to change the game is higher, but that goes in both directions.
Yes.
He can also change it for the worse. John Krieger, Shireman is standing out in Maine. How soon before he gets the Walsh minutes? Walshy stands out in Maine. JD Davison's hanging like 40 on. Like, I don't trust the G League, man. Like, I hope Shireman figures it out. I don't think it would be crazy to bring him back up and maybe give him some spot minutes just to see, like, because he looked totally not comfortable even in garbage time when he was playing with the big club and in preseason. So I wouldn't be against, like, hey, here's 5 minutes. If you don't look like a deer in the headlights, maybe you can earn some more. Because, like, the clock's ticking with Shireman. He's 24. Like, that dude, like, he needs to be a contributor pretty soon.
I don't know. It's so funny. Everyone's like, clock's ticking with Shireman, but then with Cater, he's developing. And I understand the minutes thing. TD in the chat, any rumors for a trade for a center or power forward help? No. We'll see what happens at the trade deadline. I've been trying to manifest the Jaden Springer back to the Philadelphia 76ers for Gershon Yabusele. That is what I'm trying to get done. I don't know we're still a little while away from that, but I don't know. Can you trade for another big man? You kind of have to roll with what you got. You've got Horford, Kristaps coming back, and then you got 3 more guys on the roster. You're gonna trade for another one. You're gonna have 6 center/power forward dudes on the roster, and that's not even counting Tatum. I think you just have to accept this is what you've got here at that position. And speaking of Kristaps Porzingis, I'm not sure if you saw the videos from Noah Dalzell.
I did
From Kristaps Porzingis' warm up today, and him doing like some post work. He looks good. He's doing like some 3-point shooting, going back and forth. It has to be seen. He had the scrimmage. He's out there every night doing very, very intense pregame warm-up stuff. So we've got the game tomorrow, 3 days off before the Bulls game, a day off, and then it's a back-to-back with the Cavs and the Heat. So I'm confident that's where he's going to pop up. And man, all this talk about Tilman and Cater and Luke, that Kristaps Porzingis dude is going to be a little bit different to those guys. But I'm just like, I'm begging for it. I'm begging for it at this point.
Even if he only plays 20 a night, like, dude,
beautiful.
20 for Al, 20 for KP, 8 for one of Luke, Kata, Tilman, and you're good. Most teams' third center sucks. Most teams' third center is worse than Xavier Tilman. Like, we're missing our starting center. That's why it feels a little rocky, but we're 14-3. Like, this is what we expected, Like, it's not going to be the best version of this team until KP gets back. And the deep bench guys, they're doing what we need them to do. They're not totally killing us. So I think the issue with looking for a trade is it's basically impossible to find a trade. Like, I guess you could trade one of those centers into somebody's cap space to clear a spot because you can't aggregate salaries. So you can't include Springer and Xavier Tilman in a trade. We're not allowed to do that under the second apron. So it's really, really hard to find trades. Like, I saw Jalen Duren trades. Like, that's Pritchard. It basically has to be Pritchard if you want to make that deal. Fuck that. Pritchard is way too damn good at this point. For upgrade at third center. So so like, if you want to find somebody who makes $4 million and is a clear upgrade on Xavier Tilman, go for it. I think you will have a very difficult time finding that player. It's basically Gershon.
Yeah, dude. Speaking of, the Sixers lost by 30 tonight. And Joel Embiid is out with a new knee swelling thing. And a bunch of Twitter doctors are like, yeah, dude, you have to reevaluate your ceiling for this guy. When do they go into trade stuff for assets and treat this as a lost season? I'm not sure they can do that when your best players are 30 and 34 and you have both of them signed to max contracts. I'm not sure. Maybe Daniel Tice comes back. Is he not washed? He's not playing for New Orleans.
I think he might be washed.
Can he be rejuvenated? Can he be rejuvenated by being around the aura of Jason Tatum one more time? potentially. I don't know. We'll cover it a lot once we get towards the trade deadline, but I would not expect them to make a move for a big man. Someone we need to talk about. 35 minutes of the show. It's fucking despicable. It's taken us this long to talk about it. Derrick White. It's good that we had time in between, the game ending and tonight.
Yeah, you
gave me
could
time
take
to
care
catch
of
up.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Wash myself down. Hose myself off after. This dude, is... I don't know if he's going to make the All-Star game. There's so many guards. But tonight, I don't know if this was his best game of the season, but 19 points on 7 for 12, 4 for 9 from 3. He has just become an absurd shooter. You talked about the 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 1 steal. It's an absurd stat line. And his fourth quarter numbers, not just this year, but now 2 years in a row and in the playoffs, he is just nails, dude. In the fourth quarter, he is shooting 50% from 3 in the fourth quarter on the season. Fourth quarter on the season, he's 50% on the dot, 54% from the field in the fourth quarter alone. Jaylen Brown quietly shooting 51% from the field and 37% from 3. He's saving all his 3-point makes for the fourth quarter. Yeah, D. White, 10 points in the fourth quarter. He has to be the most frustrating player to deal with if you're an opposing team, man. Tatum's kind of getting slowed down. Jalen's going off, but then also Derrick White's just dagger 3. He is getting so good at the top of the key, he's running some kind of action. He's got the ball in his hands, and the teams go to switch it. And as they hand him off, he just pulls from the top of the key, and there's no contest on it because there's just that little moment in between when the switch happens. He's loving that shot. That's 2 games in a row now, at least. Maybe, I don't even know. He just loves that shot right there, and he just keeps nailing it.
He bricked a wide open 3. We got the offensive rebound, and Tatum threw kind of a shitty pass back to him in the corner. He caught it falling out of bounds and buried it. And it's this is ridiculous. Plus he had a money little floater in the fourth quarter too, that we really desperately needed. Yeah. Him pulling up behind the pick, in a pick and roll has totally transformed his game, because then if you want to get out to him, you're going to have to stretch way out, and he's good enough with the handle and smart enough that he will eviscerate you if you're contesting him from 27 feet out. And then the flip side is he's shooting 43% from 3. So you probably should contest him that far out. And super underrated. I know people talk about the Tatum White inverted pick and roll where Derrick's a screen setter. That works because Derrick White's a really good screen setter for a guard. And that's really hard to set screens when you're a point guard on whoever the hell is guarding Tatum, because it's usually a massive wing, and that sucks to set 15 of those, 20 of those screens a game. But Derrick does it every game. The nice thing is it also leads to him getting a bunch of wide open pick and pop threes, or getting downhill. But their chemistry is so good now. Tatum just knows where Derrick's going to be. If he gets trapped, he's not even looking. He just pops it over to Derrick White. Yeah, man, the 2 threes in the fourth quarter were huge. I narrowed the fourth quarter numbers down to close games. So within 7 in the last 10 minutes, and it's still 50%. So he's not just he wasn't just hot once in a 30-point blowout. This dude is nails. He's absolutely clutch. I don't know where we talk about where would we be without Al Horford? Where would we be without Derrick White? We wouldn't have a championship. There's no doubt in my mind.
What do you mean? Josh Richardson and Romeo Langford, you don't think could have been the guys?
What about the swap, Jake? You're not thinking about the swap in 2027.
Swap, dude.
2028
swap. Yeah, man. He's just so smart. In the fourth quarter, this actually is a really nice possession. They're actually hunting Dillingham, which with Pritchard and Jaylen do essentially the Tatum Derrick at the action at the top of the key. Jaden McDaniels gets back, but that's what's great about that action. If they try and hedge and recover, they have to take a step back, which gives Jaylen just a little bit of space to attack, and then Jaylen gets into the paint, and Randall. This is why probably the Timberwolves defense isn't so good this year. Randall comes down, and he doesn't help at all. He just comes down, and Derrick White just lifts up to the right wing and is wide open, and Julius Randle's fuck. And of course, because it's the fourth quarter, Derrick White knocks it down. But yeah, I think, man, when you're in the midst of these close games, for me, sometimes it feels like it's worse than it is. And even just like going back and watching parts of it while we're talking, it's like that's actually a really nice possession. You attacked the matchup you wanted. I think there was a lot of good looks in the fourth quarter that they also missed.
Totally.
And I thought throughout the game as well. So it's easy. Like they ended up 40+% from three, but I thought they missed a lot of good looks still. And from 2-point range, I thought they missed some stuff as well. But Derrick White, he's just so crucial because he can just play in every which way you want. You want him off ball in the corners. He's crashing for those offensive rebounds. He's initiating. He's popping for three. Yeah. Al Horford and Derrick White, they're quite important.
Yeah, when I was watching the game, because I watched it late, so I knew we blew a big lead, and I was trying to see like, okay, were we running bullshit in the fourth quarter? We were not, man.
Yeah.
Like most of those possessions were really good. Al, especially, I think I don't know how many threes he missed, but it's at least 2 wide open threes, maybe 3. I'm not going to repeat Ben's comment here. You have to jump. If you're listening on the pod, you need to jump on YouTube. And if Drew had, I think, 2 wide open threes off great ball movement.
He
in the fourth
airballed
quarter
the corner
as well.
three. And
Dude, that was crazy. Like wide
wow.
open. So I thought our offense process was totally fine this game, offensively, and it just kind of the shot left us at the worst possible time. And hey, this is the modern NBA, man. Like Ant got hot, they got going a little bit, and our threes didn't go down even when they were wide, even when we earned good ones. And like 19 points is all of a sudden 4 really quickly. But I'm not worried about this game at all. Like Minnesota, despite their record, they're essentially 500. They're a really good team, especially when Ant's he shot 55% from 3. Like it's hard to beat them when he's shooting like that.
Yeah, I know they haven't been awesome. Like they're now 8-8 on the year. They started off hot. They obviously had that bad loss to the Raptors. They have the talent. Like you just think about what they did last year. Cat is not the difference between what they did last year and this year. I did think they were due for a step back, but no, this is a really nice win, man. You're still missing Kristaps, obviously. They had everybody besides Conley tonight, so kind of a wash. These guys are good, and for you to be able to pick up a win, it does feel like they're mathing their ways to victories.
Yeah, totally.
And like 56 3-point attempts tonight. I'm not sure if I'm need to be concerned about it, but there's been a couple of nights where we've only won by a little bit. Like if you tell me that we shot 56 threes and we shot 37.5%, I'd be like, oh, it's probably a double-digit win. And there's been a few games that have kind of come down to the wire, and I'm like, should they be coming down to the wire because when you hit those numbers, you just don't lose. And I guess they're not losing, so it goes back to what we were saying at the beginning. It's like it feels like I should be a little bit more concerned, but it's hard to be too concerned when they still end with a W in the win column.
Yeah, and I mean, Minnesota shot 37% essentially on 41 threes. So it's not like we totally dominated them in the 3-point battle. I mean, we did, but not compared to like some of these games that we've had. Yeah, I would like to see them diversify the offense just a little bit. I don't know, man. Maybe like I'm probably nitpicking here, but we're taking 6 more threes than the second place team in 3-point attempts per game. 6. That is so many. And again, we're 14-3. So what the hell am I complaining about? Yeah. But that just seems like that's a bigger difference than number 2 Charlotte and number 13 Cleveland. Like that's a wider spread between 1 and 2 and 2 and 13. It just feels like maybe there's some space to drive a few more closeouts instead of getting them up. But that's the essence of Missoula ball.
Tonight, I will say, is probably not the night to force it at the rim. So that's totally fair. And yeah, and in Bino's in the chat, like Kristaps Porzingis coming back does change the offense a bit. Yeah. And as we saw, even without Kristaps Porzingis in the playoffs, they weren't as 3-point heavy. At least it was a lot more driving kick. I feel like they're definitely settling a little bit more for some of those perimeter threes, screening actions on the wings. But it's not a bad strategy. Just math your way to 60 wins. Sounds pretty good. Even if I was thinking about it today. Like Cleveland's like kind of living our version last year. I think they're winning again by like big. I think they're playing Toronto. They're up 13 on the Raptors right now in the third quarter. Obviously, the Raptors aren't a great team, but like, yeah, it's just this championship. I don't know if I've got malaise or what, but
it is. It's totally the malaise, bro.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Eric's comment here real quick. If the Nas shot went in, how would that change the narrative? He didn't get it off, so it wouldn't have. But
Yeah.
I think to his point, like, had we lost this game, I like to think I'm in a place mentally with the championship where it would have been like, Minnesota's really good. Ant shot the lights out. Like, we missed some wide open threes in the fourth quarter. So I'd like to think it wouldn't change that much. But I also know myself and know, like, man, it feels way better to win that game. Like, even if it comes down to, like, if Julius Randle just made a couple free throws, we might lose. But it does change it, but it shouldn't. Is that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, yeah, you just, I would like to, what I think I would have said, and I think is probably true now as well, is this going to bite them at some point where, like, can you flip the switch? Like, we've seen them execute and play at an insanely high level. So like the Golden State Warriors has been the example we've used. They were able to flip the switch. But again, there's a reason why repeating is really, really hard. And when you go back and look through history, the teams that repeated are like some of the best teams in the history of the NBA. The Kobe and the Shaq team, the Heatles, the Golden State Warriors are the teams that repeated in like the post-2000s era. It's really, really hard. And so can you flip the switch? I still feel this way a little bit. Like, do you get caught where variance, like the 3-point shots don't go in for a few nights in a row? But as you've documented, the Celtics are what? What's the record when they shoot under 33% from three?
5-0.
So fuck, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
they're finding
right.
ways to do it. So I think, like, and on the season, I know coming into tonight by cleaning the glass, they were the 9th best defense. Still pretty good, man. Like, it's just the rebounding's been a thing. Obviously, like the Wizards game, like these things are popping up. And if they had lost tonight, I think I would have been saying, at some point, is this going to, like, are you going to have enough of these games where you're not taking it seriously, where you end up the 3 seed? But then I guess who really cares?
Yeah.
I'm gonna care more in the moment. I'm gonna be pissed off when we lose this game, when you feel like you had a bunch of things that you could have done a little bit better. But I'm able to have better perspective. I'm able to feel a little bit wiser when we just won the game. And I can pretend like I would have been nice and calm after we would have lost the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
would have been
important to remember
pissed.
this for the next time that we we got the Clippers game tomorrow. They're coming off a back-to-back. The Philadelphia 76ers didn't do us any favors as far as keeping that game close. The Clippers have been able to rest for the entire fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But yeah, like,
That's
and the
okay.
thing-
I'm okay with Philly losing by 30,
Yeah,
even though that
exactly.
means the Clippers get some rest. I think my one concern, really quick, and then we should
No, go.
probably wrap it up, is
Yeah.
that, like, you don't want the switch to get rusty. You want to
Yeah.
keep that baby lubed up. And it's like, if you don't have to switch the flip enough, part of me in my head's like, are they going to remember how to flip the switch and play like this for 48 minutes? Because that's harder to do than doing it for 10 minutes. And I know the answer is they'll be fine and they're okay. But this is like a lizard brain take. We're just
Exactly.
like, way back in my brain, it's like, but they almost lost to the Wizards. Like, is that a sign of things to come? And I know it's not, but that's my one, like, somewhat irrational fear.
I think even going back to the playoffs, you lose game 2 against the Heat, you lose game 2 against the Cavs, and you start to freak out a little bit, and you reflect, and it's like, oh, I probably didn't need to freak out so much, because we can say these things, but at the same time, you have to find ways to win. They were, yes, the game ends in a 2-point game, but they were up by 5 with a minute to go, and teams don't come back from down 5 with a minute to go very often, just statistically. So they've been giving themselves really good chances to win all these games because their talent's just so immense, even without Kristaps Porzingis, man. Like when Jaylen Brown's going to town on going to town on Nickeil Alexander-Walker. It's like he's a really good defender, but Jaylen Brown just puts him in the post and gets the fadeaway, goes through him on the block. Like they've got enough talent. Tatum's been playing well enough. He was probably due for a little bit of a come down, I guess. I mean, the 3-point shot was still going tonight. The Clippers have a really good defense as well. I will say, they've had 2 days off between every game for a while now. Not this one and the Wizards game, but they had 2 days off before this game, before the Wizards game, 2 days off before the Cavs game, and 2 days off before the Raptors game. They kind of seem to play better when they don't have rest. I don't know. Yeah. Like when they had they lost to the Hawks and they had a back-to-back against the Nets and they blew them out the next night. And Tatum had like one of his best games of the season. So that's definitely a thing. And they're like 25-6 on back-to-backs in the Joe Mazzulla era, which is insane. And they have 3 days off before the Bulls game, and it's the NBA Cup, and they're gonna fucking disrespect the cup after 3 days off again.
I am the Jason Tatum of this podcast when it comes to the NBA Cup. I'm a cup disrespecter, but I appreciate how much you and Ben love it.
Come on.
I know. Yeah, dude, I agree with you. I kind of think we might punk the Clippers. They're going to feel like this was a loss because they let the T-Wolves claw their way back into this game. And when they play off one of these fake losses, I feel like they're so damn good. But yeah, their record on back-to-backs with Joe is fucking mental. Like that does not make any sense that they're that good on back-to-backs. And I think a big part of it is the Jays are just in such ridiculous shape that they can just bring it, even if they played 24 hours ago. Unlike, some superstars maybe play down 95 a little bit, maybe in Philly. If I had to just randomly pick a city.
Yeah. And a superstar that used to play down the road as well in James Harden.
That's true.
I wonder if is this better for him? Because he doesn't have time to go out. James Harden, he's got to get on a plane.
James will find time, brother.
Fingers crossed. Is anywhere in Boston even going to be open by the time they get in tonight?
Probably not, honestly.
I guess it was the early game though. They did have the earlier game, so probably actually because they're probably in the air right now. And so there could be time. There could be time for him to...
Yeah, you gain hours on your way back this way too, right? Like the clock turns back. So, wait, no, you lose hours. Never mind.
From Philly to Boston? Do you lose... You...
Oh, they're in... Never mind. I'm sorry. I was thinking they were in LA. My bad. That would be a very long flight and a very stupid way to schedule an NBA season. Yeah. That's a short flight. It's like 50 minutes. Yeah. So
on the Clippers, though, they've been fucking good.
Yeah, man.
What's their record? They are 11-7. They're the 5th seed in the West.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, they have a top 5 defense in the NBA. If I check this quickly, they have the... Oh, it's worse than I thought. No, 5th. Yeah, 5th. They're 5th in defense. So they're going to be here to go. And Subats with no Horford, James Harden cooking up Neemias Cater in the pick and roll.
Not great.
Maybe not good. And the defensive glass as well is potentially going to be a problem with Zubats.
Norm Powell is like a fucking superstar all of a sudden. He doesn't miss.
I would be a little concerned because they're not going to take him too seriously, and the Clippers have been quite good.
Yeah, I don't... Man, yeah, that's a really good point. I feel like Zubac is one of those centers that we are really good at abusing though, and making him play out on the perimeter. But part of that is you have Al Horford or Kristaps Porzingis out there to stretch him out.
Yeah.
And without that, maybe Tilly just goes 4 of 7 from 3, and then they have to start really stretching the defense out. But probably not if I had to guess. Sounds great. Yeah, the Clippers, have sneaky been really good. Harden, I hate to admit it, you give him the ball, you just say go nuts, James, roll the ball out, he's gonna do shit and be positive. I mean, they have the 20th ranked offense, so it's not like they're killing them with the offense, but
it's defense, which is crazy.
Yeah,
it's wild. This has been the most fun Clippers team in 5 years now,
yeah,
which is hilarious because they finally got rid of Paul George and Kawhi is still not even playing.
Yeah, they got wings, man. They just got they're pretty deep. They're really deep, not pretty deep. So I kind of like the Clippers team. And Zubac, I don't know why. He just seems like the man. I think it's because the
Yeah.
Lakers traded him and then he turned out awesome. That's why I like him. But
That is.
I don't know, man. And like the wall, that's good vibes. Like the whole new stadium thing, a lot of good vibes going with the Clips. So we'll see. But I don't know. I got a good feeling about this one. I just feel like we're in for a monster Tatum game.
Okay, I like being in
Yeah.
for a monster Tater game. Let me check what the odds are here. I did bet on the Wolves to cover the. The odds are not up for tomorrow's game yet. But I'm guessing the Celtics be favored by like 4.5 or something like that. The Celtics have not done a lot of covering of the spread lately. That's for sure,
No.
especially when they're big favorites. But yeah, and that'll be a fun game. I'll be here late night with Greeny tomorrow night,
Sweet.
which will be good. Hopefully, we're 1-on-1 with Greeny on late night, which is good. Okay stuff. We got the most important one. We won the Cavs game.
That one's all that matters. All right, why don't we wrap it up there, Jake? But pleasure as always, buddy. Hey, like, subscribe. We're super close to 10K subscribers on YouTube. So if you listen to the pod and aren't subscribed on YouTube, hook the boys up. Do us a favor. If you're listening to this and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. We want to give Ben a Christmas gift of 10K subscribers.
That's right.
So we remember the days when we had 10. So 10,000 feels like a wild goal, but we're very, very close. So we'd appreciate it. But that is going to do it. Check out Jake and Greeny tomorrow night. We are out. Peace.